Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for my preview of the Europa League semi-final between Chelsea and Eintracht Frankfurt. Obviously the Europa League semi-final second leg, and honestly guys, I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous out of this game. Like, I know we've secured Champions League football by securing top 4 on the weekend, which was obviously great, which, in case you didn't know that, which how would you not know that? But by the time I did my review live stream, we didn't know that for sure yet because Arsenal was still playing, but they actually drew to Brighton. So that guaranteed us a top four finish in the Premier League, which is obviously very good, which I'm very happy with. And also, finally, we have an actual proper video again on this channel. I know there's been a lot of live streams recently, of which the video quality just isn't anywhere near as good as it is now. So I hope, you're happy with that. Of course, if you are new on this channel, please do subscribe to me. That would be massively appreciated. Let's just keep it growing. 3.6 thousand subscribers or whatever we're on. So, let's just keep it growing. If you're new here, I'd honestly massively appreciate it. If you could subscribe, drop a like on this video, leave me your thoughts on everything, that there is to comment on really down in the comment section below. And there are a lot of things that I wanted to talk about today, but, as you know, my videos tend to be quite long anyway. I would have loved to speak about that ridiculous game between Liverpool and Barcelona last night, which still triggers me because I really dislike Liverpool. Not that I like Barcelona or anything. Like, I really like Messi, but other than that, I don't really care about Barcelona in the slightest. But I just don't like Liverpool, so it kind of triggered me a little bit, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. But it was still incredible, especially that corner by Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, bloody hell. Jesus Christ. I mean, that guy's got some smarts. Anyway, don't have time to talk about that. But before getting into the, Eintracht preview itself, there is some big news that came out today regarding Chelsea's transfer ban. The 2-window transfer ban that, well, pretty much is coming up. The question is, when will it be coming up? So we did finally get news today by the FIFA that they rejected, or partially at least, rejected our appeal against that, basically against their decision. So what that really means is that everyone expected what came out today to come out at some point anyway. What I am a little bit surprised about is that this partial rejection, basically we are allowed to sign under 16 players, which is a bit weird because we got, obviously, the whole ban came from signing underage players. Obviously underage, under 18s and under 16s. I'm not sure how many of those 29 we were charged for were actually under 16. I'm not 100% sure on that. But obviously, at least we can still sign someone like a new Callum Hudson-Odoi, a new Ruben Loftus-Cheek at 8 years old from some other English club that is around the corner, and he just wants to go to a better club, and because he's good enough, and then we can just sign them, in that sense at least. But yeah, that's why it's partially rejected it. But yeah, so everyone expected this to happen. Basically, what happens now is we go to the CAS, which is the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Like I say, CAS is short for that, which is where we're going to go now, which is basically where we're again going to appeal the FIFA's decision, which we were always, going to do anyway, because the FIFA were the guys that initially gave us the transfer ban. So it was very, very unlikely for them to just overturn their own decision, basically. But we had to appeal to the FIFA first. They had to reject that appeal first for us to be able to go to the CAS. So that's what we're going to do now. Chelsea have officially, confirmed that they will do that. And we will then hope to have the ban turned over. That's the official story, but realistically we just gonna hope to have it uplifted or frozen over the summer so we can at least make signings this summer. So that's what we're gonna hope for. Like, I'm almost certain, I'm 99.9% sure that we're not gonna have the ban uplifted and just not have a ban. Not gonna happen. But I guess there is a small chance that we will in the end have the option to sign players this summer. But that's enough about that. I mean, in all honesty, we're just going to have to deal with it anyway. That's why I haven't spoken about transfer, rumours just yet, because I'm like, no one knows whether we can actually sign anyone. So I'm not going to talk about Pepe or all the other players that we've been linked with. There's absolutely no point at this point, in my opinion. But let's, continue with the video, and let's get finally into the preview and speaking about Eintracht Frankfurt, which is what I usually do when starting off previews. So obviously, I was at the first leg. It was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever experienced. If you want to see the videos and photos and stuff from it, please follow me on my Instagram. The link is down in the description below. It's last1507 over there. That would be massively appreciated, of course. But yeah, it was a madness. I mean, their fans, bloody hell. I mean, I've never experienced anything like it, and I've been to a lot of football games in my time, and that was insane. Insane. Obviously, we still got our 1-1 draw. We probably should have won. We definitely could have won. We definitely also could have lost with some silly mistakes late on, and Frankfurt, having quite big chances late on. But like I say, we drew the game 1-0. The only difference is that, last week they only had Jovic available. Now they also have Rebic available, because he was obviously suspended for the first leg. He's now back. And also, not so great news for us is that their third striker, the third really good attacker that they have, Sebastian Haller, the French striker, Well, we don't know for sure whether he is fit. He had basically a groin problem, I think, and he was out for a while now. But he was, he did officially travel to London with the squad, but he's yet to face a late fitness test. Well, tonight, I guess, whether he will be available to play tomorrow. So we don't know for sure just yet. But there is a chance that he will play, and that is obviously not good for us because then they have that extremely dangerous front three back, which is not great. What is interesting to mention is that on the weekend they lost 6-1 to Bayer Leverkusen, which is a bit weird. And they were 6-1 down within 37 minutes, and then nothing else really happened in that entire game. And that is a bit of a madness because, it's not like Frankfurt had already secured a top 4 finish or weren't even fighting for a top 4 finish anymore in the Bundesliga. They are currently 4th, and they were playing Leverkusen, who were and still are 5th. But instead of a 6-point gap or a 3-point gap as it was before the game, they're now level on points, and Frankfurt are only ahead of them a goal difference. So, yes, I mean, they did a lot of rotation, not an extreme amount, but they did rotate quite a few players. But still, for them to lose 6-1 was a bit strange. I feel like, that game against us, they took a lot of energy from them and they're fully focused on that in the second leg. So just because they lost 6-1 to Bayer Leverkusen, don't be expecting anything of that sort tomorrow. Just don't be expecting any of that. And don't come at me, they lost 6-1 to Bayer Leverkusen. How are we not smashing them? Just not how it works. Just not how it works, people. It just doesn't work like that. But yeah, of course, they're a really good team. They know what they're doing. They play some very interesting football tactically. They're really dynamic. They do it. Their movement is incredible. The way they shift the ball in their 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2, depending on which players play. Obviously, against us, the first leg it was a 3-5-1-1. When all of Jovic, Rebic, and Aller are fit, it's more of a 3-4-1-2. It's a bit odd. Sometimes you could even call it a 3-4-3, with Jovic and, Rebic at times drifting a bit more wide. A bit difficult to kind of define it, but anyway, 3 at the back, wing backs. And their wing-backs, they push and push and push and they press. And they work really hard. But also, as we saw in the first leg, at least, aside from in the game, obviously I haven't rewatched the game because just didn't have time to do that, in all honesty. Maybe it seemed different on TV, but it looked like they kind of ran out of power at some point, ran out of stamina, and maybe their extremely loud crowd kind of just made them work a bit too hard at the beginning of the game, and then they kind of ran out of energy a little bit towards the end of it, because the longer the first half went on, the more energy we had, the better we got, I guess. And for pretty much the entire second half, we were the better team, except for the last few minutes when their fans got loud again, I suppose. So that is that. Another thing I did want to mention from last week's game is that Martin Hindegger, the Austrian centre-back, who was at bloody Augsburg fighting relegation until January, until he, mouthed off their manager there to basically get kicked out of the club, and then Frankfurt took him on loan, and now he's a beast for them. He bullied Olivier Giroud. He bullied Olivier Giroud last week, and that is a bit of a problem. When their defenders bully Giroud, what the hell do we do? Anyway, I'm going to get to, line-up decision and stuff, what I'd go with. But, they're a really good team, and they worry me. Like, they have a really, really good away record in Europe. I don't think they lost an away game this season in the Europa League. Or maybe they did. Maybe it was at home, but they didn't lose one. They had a really good away record anyway, because they've played a lot of difficult opponents so far already. But we, until Frankfurt, had it pretty easy. I mean, they played Inter, they played Benfica, they played a lot of really difficult games already. And, I mean, fair bloody playing it. Like, they're here, and they're being a difficult opponent for us. Next thing I want to mention is Mauricio Sarri's pre-match press conference, and the only thing that was really worth mentioning from that, obviously the transfer ban, but he said, well, I don't know, like no one really knows, so what is he going to say? But he did speak about N'Golo Kanté, who of course did pick up an injury in the game on Sunday against Watford. And Mauricio Sarri said after the game he basically made a mistake by starting him, said he needed a rest after the game against Frankfurt, and yes, he takes that on the chin, and he made a mistake. He shouldn't have started him. Maybe he wouldn't be injured right now. I mean, he admitted it. It's a mistake that sometimes happens. It's a huge game. We wanted top 4, and sometimes you take the risk. Like, I had so many people mouthing Sarri off for not starting Hazard in Frankfurt. Imagine he didn't start Kante out, against Watford, but had him on the bench. Then people would be angry about that one. Maybe if Hazard started against Frankfurt, he'd be injured right now as well, and we'd be in even bigger trouble. So who knows? The manager usually knows what he's doing, but got it wrong in this case. But Sarri did say that Kante's injury isn't that serious, meaning that yes, he will still be out for those 2 games this week, as in tomorrow against Frankfurt and then on Sunday against Leicester, but he might be back for the final if we do get there, for the Europa League final on May 29th, of course, which is a couple of weeks away still, well, actually more than that. So he might be back for that if we get there, which would obviously be huge, but it is of course still a big, big loss for the game tomorrow. Ruben Loftus-Cheek then also spoke as the player, just the playing part of the press conference, if you will. Didn't say that many interesting things. Spoke really well though, but he did speak about his, consistent back problems that he's been dealing with since he was 16 or 17 years old. Basically saying that he had consistently here and there just back spasms in his lower back, and it's just been a big problem for him. It's affected him hugely. Obviously, he'd been dealing a lot with it, this season. As soon as he started to get into the side, October, November time, he had the problem and was out for a while. He came back, was out again, came back, was out again. And now he said he's been good for a while now, thankfully, even though Sarri said he might be dealing with it for the rest of his, career, really. Ruben said he doesn't believe so. He thinks he's got it under control to an extent. Now he hasn't really had problems with it recently, but he did also confirm that he has to be a bit more careful with recovery after games than other players. So sometimes he will miss, the training a day after a game or 2 days and only do half a training session, 2 days after a game, just to, give his back that rest that it needs. So that is why Sarri hasn't always started him every 3 games, like basically every game 3 days apart, because it's a bit of a risky thing with Ruben. Like, it won't kill him, it won't destroy his back for the rest of his life, but it might bring up the back spasm, and that takes time to recover again, rest again, and then we won't have it from another month. So that is obviously the issue that we have to deal with, and it's just the problems that we have. So whether he will start tomorrow, I hope so, because he said he hasn't felt any twinge or anything in his back for, weeks. So that is obviously great. So I hope that he's fine to start tomorrow. Of course, he wasn't meant to play as much against Watford as he did, but he had to come on for N'Golo Kanté, which I was a little bit surprised by, that it wasn't Barkley, just because of Ruben's back problems and stuff. But, that's the situation. And now coming to Chelsea, and obviously coming to the game and what we have to do. I mean, the most important thing, in my opinion, is that we just have to be clinical. Like, we had plenty of chances in the first leg to see the tie off. Like, we could be 3 or 4-1 up by now. Like, Ruben himself had 1 or 2 huge chances. It doesn't mean he wasn't incredible that day, but he could have scored at least 2. And it would have been a much better situation to be in, winning the away leg 3-1 than, going into it with 1-0, even though there's already also a good, situation to be in. But we have to be clinical. We just have to be clinical. But even more importantly, we have to be so careful and we have to be so concentrated, because they're so good on the counter. They're just so dynamic. They just move and move and move. As soon as they get the ball, as soon as they win it back, it's like a bloody wall of opponents just runs forward. It's ridiculous. They're wing backs, like the Costa on the right and then Kostic on the left. And then obviously Jovic up front, and then Rebic will play, maybe even Aller. It's going to be a madness. So we have to be so careful. And Jorginho has to do a lot of smart positioning in his head. Basically he has to stand in the right place at the right time to intercept crucial balls, crucial passes, and crucial play. Like, it's going to be so important, and that's when we're going to miss Kante, and that's why I'm not worried, but slightly more worried than I would be if Kante was available, because Kante was extremely good in the first leg, and in my opinion played a huge part in why we were so good in the second half and so much better than Frankfurt. So that, I think, could be a bit of a problem, and also fatigue, because we can't rotate the whole team. We cannot. Yes, okay, since Sunday it is 3-4 days in between to the game on a Thursday, but still, Jorginho has been playing so many games. Hazard at least got the rest last week, but Jorginho, I mean, he will have to play, but the guy has to be dead at some point. I mean, Christensen and Luiz have been playing every game recently because of course of Rudiger's injury. So that is obviously a problem. Then Azpilicueta, of course, always plays every game, let's be honest. I mean, it's a bit of a madness, I can't lie. And, the fatigue I hope won't be a problem, but the lineup that me personally I would go for is, of course, Kepa in goal. I mean, the back four is going to be unchanged. Well, maybe not, because obviously Kepa in goal, like I say, Azpilicueta right back, centre back 2 has to be Christensen and David Luiz. We're not going to start Azpilicueta as a centre back and start Sabacosta. Not going to do that. It's the option when someone gets injured or someone is really tired or whatever, then we do that. Not going to start with it. And on the left, I would personally still go with Emerson. I also think that Sarri will. But there is a shout to be made for Alonso, simply because Da Costa, Frankfurt's right wing back, yes, he's very quick, and Emerson deals with that part of it a lot better, but he's also really strong. And I felt in the ground, in Frankfurt last week, Emerson really struggled with that at times. I thought that he really struggled with it. Maybe on TV it looked a little bit different, but I had that feeling that he struggled with it. So maybe Alonso is an option, but I think it should and still will be Emerson. Then a midfield 3, without Kante, it has to be, I guess, Jorginho, Kovacic as their right centre midfielder, because he's the only one that can do it. And I think that's probably actually his best position, not Regista, and certainly not the left centre mid, but I think at the right centre mid, Kovacic can do a decent and a half job. And then on the left of the midfield 3, of course, ideally, it is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. If it's not him, well, I guess it has to be Barkley, but I really bloody hope that it is Loftus-Cheek, because the guy is so good. The guy is so good. Like, We just need to have that guy playing. We just need to have the guy not be injured. Like, if there's anyone that can sort of replace the importance of Hazard, in my opinion, is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Give the guy a little bit more time, a little bit more game time, a little bit more time without injuries, and he will be so good. I'm in love with him, basically. I'm in love with him. Yeah, mental. And then, of course, the front three. I mean, a bit more tricky. Hazard this time will definitely start, I guarantee. He will start. Willian will play on the right because Pedro played the full game against Watford and Willian didn't even come on, I don't think. So Willian will definitely start on the right there. But then up front, I'm really not sure. Like I mentioned, Hinteregger and also the other defenders kind of bullying Olivier Giroud, and Olivier Giroud being completely invisible. He maybe should have had a penalty, maybe, big shout. But other than that, Giroud was completely invisible. He couldn't get a touch in. He lost the ball in the build-up to Frankfurt's goal. He just couldn't hold it down. He just lost pretty much every physical battle. At least that's what it felt like in the ground. And, you know, their defenders, they can clearly deal with the physicality of Giroud. But can they deal with Higuain's movement? Yes, I know he's for the most part awful. And he was for the most part awful against Watford. But then this one bit of movement got us a goal. That one bit of movement, and maybe one bit of movement and one goal is what decided tomorrow. And I just don't see how we can bring Hazard into it much, and even Ruben, if he is outmuscled for the most part, Olivier Giroud, that is. Like, if he can't hold the ball up and then can't lay it off and can't do what he's best at, because scoring goals is not what he's best at usually, except in the Europa League at times, I guess. If he can't do that, then he's really no help to us. I mean, I guess Higuain usually is no help to us, except when he actually finds himself having a chance, and then usually doesn't score. But, you know, when he does, it's great. So maybe there is a shout to be made for Higuain to start just for those reasons, simply because Giroud really struggled. And it's not like Giroud would all of a sudden be a lot stronger than he was last week. You know, people are as strong and as tall as, and, you know, etc. as they are. So you can't really do much about that. But maybe Higuain's movement would, you know, worry and, you know, kind of put Frankfurt into more trouble, I guess. You know, maybe that is an idea. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to say which one I prefer because I just don't know. But let me just give you that, you know, as a bit of information. If Higuain does start, I think that might be why. But other than that, don't really know what else to say. Like I say, we just have to move, work hard. Like, we have to outwork them. If we want to beat Frankfurt without N'Golo Kanté, we have to outwork them. Every single one of them. Don't care whether it's Jorginho, who works his ass off every time anyway. But whether it's Kovacic, whether it's Ruben, whether it's Hazard, Willian, the lot of them, they have to work their socks off. Defensively, offensively, both on the ball and off the ball. That is even more important. Off the ball, but going forward. That is the most important thing. If we want to win, if we want to go through to the final, that is what we need to do. Move your bloody socks off. Who cares about Sunday? Yeah? Honestly, Leicester, chances are we're going to lose there anyway, even if we're at our bloody best. Chances are. And yes, I want to finish third if we can. That would be great. Chances are Spurs will lose to Everton anyway. So, you know, maybe. But yes, sod that game. Lose every bit of energy that we have tomorrow night and make sure we get to that bloody final. Just bloody make sure, because I want to go to fucking Baku. Yeah, you know, that would be great. I mean, as you know, I don't do score predictions anymore. Let me just tell you, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I think we can go through. I think we will go through, I think. But I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous. Frankfurt are really good. Frankfurt are really good. And we don't have Kante. And Kante is so important in our team, in our system. The way we press, the way we pass, the way we win the ball back. He's so important to us. And a little bit nervous. But yeah, you know, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I think this video was, again, way too long, way longer than I wanted it to be. But yeah, leave me all of your thoughts ahead of the game down in the comment section below. You know, do you think we can win? Do you think we will win? What will be your lineups? What do you make of the transfer ban situation? Let me know down in the comment section below. Like I say, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Both of them, the links are down in the description below. It's Laus1507 on both of them. Of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. And other than that, drop a like on this video. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night for a live review as usual. Again, live stream, not as good quality as this one is now. But, you know, I'm going to see you for that. And hopefully, I'm going to be in a great mood because we qualified for the Europa League final. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. And I'll see you tomorrow.